Good morning, gorgeous. Good morning, gorgeous. Don't forget to smile. As you look radiant as you are the queen of your Nile, wake up, beautiful. It's time to spread your wings. Open up your window and hear the songbirds as they sing. Good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for joining the Good Morning Podcast on today. I am yours, Larissa Williams.
And I'm Sharonda Steele.
We'd like to thank you for joining us today. And we have on the show, we have Chantelle Pressley, who is joining us today. And we just thank everyone for joining us today for your Saturday morning dose of inspiration. So welcome to the Good Morning Gorgeous podcast. And thank you, Chantelle, for being with us today.
Thank you all for having me. I'm excited to be here.
And we are so excited for you to be here. We're not going to delay the time, so we're just going to jump right on in, Chantelle. And the first question we like to ask you is, tell us a little bit about yourself so our viewers can get to know who you are.
Well, I'm a Lexington, Kentucky native, and before I got into my journey, currently I am Miss Kentucky for America Strong and first runner-up for Miss for America, and I'm a realtor here in Lexington, Kentucky. So small business owner. I'm opening up a women's sober living home, Winter Garden Sober Living, and I also work with my dad's women's sober living home, Eastern Avenue. So before all that got started, my big love was basketball. So I played professional basketball for 7 years and retired during the pandemic. And this is what I got going on right now.
Right. You played professional ball?
Yes, I did. Yeah, I started playing after college. In 2013, I went to France, played in Germany, played in Italy, Spain, went to Australia. I don't know if I'm missing anywhere else, but yes, I played in England 3 different seasons, so different teams in England. So it was an amazing experience.
I know, man, that sounds incredible. I've always said I never had like, a lot of people want to travel out of the country. Like, I've never had the desire to travel out of the country, but I love hearing other people talk about it.
Well, if anything, I say take a trip somewhere warm. Try going to the Dominican Republic, Mexico, or somewhere like that. Not too far away, but getting some nice sunshine and experiencing something different.
Yeah, that's so good. That's so good. So did you want to say something, Lisa?
No, go ahead.
You mentioned the sober living home. So that means there's 2, one with your family and then one that you're starting. What made you want to branch out and kind of do your own?
So in 2018, my father let me know that he wanted to turn his fourplex into a women's sober living home. So during that process, I kind of helped him with all the back stuff, like getting our procedures and policies, getting the website, and just doing all of the technical things. Because my father, he's a little bit older and he might not be as tech savvy, but he definitely had the plan and the idea to go that route. And once everything was really rolling with that, after a really successful 2 years of real estate, I was able to purchase my own fourplex. And I'm just taking the model that we created with his sober living home and implementing it into my own, because there's such a high demand for people who need that kind of long-term sober living treatment plan. It's really holistic. It's not just coming there and, saying, oh, don't do drugs. It's learning how to do home economics, learning how to build back family relationships after somebody's had, that mistrust from using drugs and alcohol. So that's all a part of the program. But for me, my father was an alcoholic, an abusive alcoholic when I was growing up. So I know I've never had a problem with substance use, but I know how much it affects the family and the children. And, I can't imagine it had it been my mom that had the problem. I feel like there's such a pivotal part in the child's development as well. So I really am focused on helping women get back on their feet.
And how long does the program last? How long does an individual stay in the program before you rotate it for someone else to come in? Because you said it's a fourplex. So you've got 4
Or
different apartments. So how long is the process?
So the way it works is in each unit, there are 2 bedrooms and 1 bathroom, a kitchen and a living room. So it's almost dorm style. So there's 2 twin beds in each one of the bedrooms. So there'll be 16 women that live there at the fourplex, and they are able to stay for a maximum of 2 years. But we asked for the minimum amount to like really take effect. We ask that people stay there at least 90 days, but we don't, it's a free will situation. They're, they can come and go as they decide. And it's just that we require it. We think about 3 months to really make an impact before they leave.
That's awesome.
So have you had some that only stayed for 3 months and they left and were able to do well? Or do you find that the longer they stay for that 2 years, the better chance they have of success?
Well, the longer they stay is going to give them a higher rate of success, in my opinion, because they don't have to pay to stay there because it's funded through Medicaid. And that gives them an opportunity. You don't want to start working right away, like getting into a job rotation. First is focusing on the recovery. But then once you kind of get those steps going, then to be able to get a job and save some money to be able to get a security deposit for an apartment. Or some people have gotten cars and gotten their driver's license. So even we help people with record expungement and things like that. So it's just the longer you stay, the more you're able to build up the things that you might have lost during your time of using drugs and alcohol.
Yeah, so good.
So with that, because you're doing the real estate, you are Miss Kentucky, and then you have sober living. How are you able to juggle all 3 of those areas in your life at this point?
Well, I pray about it every day because it does become a lot. And I think sometimes like with my personal relationships and socializing, I think those are the things that kind of, are kind of shrinking at this time. I try to block out specific time frames where I'm like, okay, this is what I'm doing here. My Google Calendar has been a savior because if I didn't have everything on my schedule, there'll be things that would just slip through my fingers. And I always say, like, charge it to my head and not my heart, because sometimes it just becomes a lot. But I mean, I only have my Miss Kentucky reign until the end of May. May 27th is when the next state title pageant is. But I mean, I've been enjoying it so much that I get to go out and meet new people. I get to speak to different groups and do a lot of community service. So it's been a fun time, and I wouldn't change anything.
Right. I'm so glad I ran into you again at the Unity breakfast because I think we had spoken, but I don't think we actually had penciled in and scheduled for you to be on here. So I was so glad to be able to run into you on that day. So again, thank you so much for taking time to be on the podcast with us today.
Yeah. I'm thinking through this question, and this may be a little bit tougher, but there may not be an answer because that's a range. I mean, think about it from the pageant world, basketball, realtor, sober living. They all seem very different.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And most people, let's say if you have a path that usually is kind of similar in a way, but these are all very different avenues. I wonder why so many different ones, one, and then 2, do you prefer one over the other? Like if out of all 4 or 5 of those, if you could do just one for the rest of your life and feel completely satisfied and happy, which one would that be? I know that may be a harder question, but usually when someone has so many different areas, I always wonder, like, if you could choose just one and you would never have to worry about finances or impacting the community or anything, because all of these areas, you really are creating impact, like literally all of them.
Huge
Impact. But if you could choose just one, or could you choose just one?
Well, I don't know if you all do any kind of astrology type of things, if you know your signs, but I'm a Gemini, and I think it's kind of in our nature to kind of have lots of different interests. So I try to roll all of those three things that you just mentioned into the pageant, and I think that was what made me unique and different. I mean, I talked about the professional basketball. I built that into my state costume. I had on a Kentucky University of Kentucky basketball jersey, and just like blinged it out, made it real cute for our state
Nice.
That's nice.
representation. So, I mean, all of those things. And I put the housing with the real estate and sober living together because that's kind of what I preach to people about home ownership and just having kind of like a stable living. So affordable housing, even for people who I want to encourage to be investors. If you have some real estate, then you kind of control the market. You can bring in the people you want to bring in to rent from you. And I think it's so important to have stable and affordable housing. So I kind of mix those two, sober living and real estate, all together, because without the real estate license and without the fourplex, I wouldn't have been able to get the property for these women to be able to live there. So, I mean, even though they're very different, the main key part of that is having that stable environment.
Oh, that's so good. I like how you put those pieces together, and they really do connect after hearing you talk. Like they really do connect. Where I was thinking they didn't, they really do connect. I like it.
With community service and the basketball, like me and my friend Brianna Green, we played middle school basketball together. She's a Harlem Globetrotter, and she's like a social media guru now. And we used to do our Hoop for the Culture basketball camps here in Lexington. So we did 3 years in a row, free basketball camps for kids in the summer, and they were amazing. With COVID, they stopped because obviously we couldn't gather, but I'm excited to get those back and going too. I think the kids had a lot of fun, but myself included, I had a lot of fun, working with the young people. So hopefully we can do that again soon.
It's called Hoops for the Culture.
Yeah, we did it at KBC. They used to have it on. Yeah, so fun times.
I think that, and for you to be so young, there's so many talents that you're sharing with so many people. And I know that God is pleased in what you are doing. How do you feel with the sober living? How do you feel that, have you ever had anybody that completed the program come to you and just truly thank you for helping them stay and make it through that program? Have you had people come after they've completed it, come back after that in a positive way, and even have you had some reoccurrence, with that program?
Yes. So on both of those, we've had people who have been able to get reconnected with their kids. They've been able to get apartments and get cars and stay sober. You still see them because there's the AA and NA meetings. So once somebody's in recovery, it's a lifetime process. So they still continue to go to those meetings, and you see them and you check in with them, see how they're doing. We've had some people that have went back out, and maybe some people might have left a little early. A lot of times in recovery, especially with women who are early in recovery, they get hooked into a relationship too fast, and that if you get with someone who's not on the straight and narrow, then you can get back in that path, and then they wind up coming back. So we've had people that have came back and left and came back maybe 3 or 4 times, and that's okay. We just want them to come back and get the help that they need, whenever they need it. But we do encourage them not to jump into those relationships early in the recovery process.
That's good. And do you have different people that come in and talk with them, or because there's a lot of pieces, whether it's home ownership, whether it is job searching, maybe health and wellness. How does that part of the program work?
So each week we have a spirituality class, and those classes are all the classes are 1 hour. So we have a spirituality class, we have an art wellness class, we have a home economics class. They do a low impact fitness class, and then they have a self-awareness and relationship building. So in that class, they kind of talk about what is abuse, and some things that people didn't even realize. Maybe it was sexual abuse, financial abuse, mental, all kinds of things. And they also talk about building back those relationships with family. So all those classes come on top of the 3 hours of one-on-one counseling, and then they have a group therapy class, and then they also do AA and NA meetings every day for the first 90 days.
Oh wow! So they stay pretty busy too with just the courses and getting themselves on track. But I love it. I love
Yeah, and I
hearing.
think that would help. I mean, I think that would help because the busier they are, they don't have time to think about those things that have put them in that place. They're so focused on how the program is, outlined, which I feel like that would be a huge impact in helping them, those that truly want the help. It would allow them, it'll help them to reach the goals of being successful and being able to complete the program. That's awesome. And I feel like, during the pandemic, there may have been more people that have dealt with that because of a loss of a job or loss of their home. And so much stuff has been going on, or loss of loved ones, because remember, there was so many lives lost through COVID. And people have had different ways dealing with that, whether it be substance abuse, whether it be alcohol, whether it be, because it's still all mental, just like when we had in our previous interview, it's a mindset change, a mindset adjustment that we've all had to deal with these last 3 years. And everybody has a different way of coping with it. So how long, I know you said you did this, you started this with your dad, but how long before did you actually come into wanting to do it create and start it for yourself?
I think the earliest memory I have of that was probably in 2018. I was still in England playing basketball. And that was I was living in a situation where, like, my coach and his wife at the time, they were really wealthy people. They had like a big 5-bedroom house, and they had a couple of the foreign players and their daughter who was on the team. So we all lived together, but we'd have these family meals, team meals at night. And he said, Chantelle, what are you going to do when you retire? And I told him at that point, like, I'm going to open my own women sober living home. So at that time, I wasn't a realtor. I hadn't got my license yet. I didn't know all of that, how to, but I knew I was going to open up my own women sober living home. So, like, fast forward now into 2023, like, everything's came full circle finally. So,
wow, that's a blessing. That's a blessing. Everything happens in God's timing, and like previously, when you put it out there, that's what we have to do. What does it say? Write the vision and make it plain. Once you put it out there, then we have to take our hands off of it and let God drive. And once we let go of it and let him drive, everything else falls into place.
And I think it's great having this house where you provide that stable living home for the women or the folks that live there, and they're all like-minded, like they all are on this journey together, so they get to support each other. In addition to the supports that you all provide, they get to help each other. And who else understands it more than someone else that's going through it or dealing with it, right? So being able to lean on and support each other, I'm sure create some pretty strong bonds between the folks that live there together. Probably some lasting friendships too, for sure.
Yeah, they definitely connect well with each other. I mean, in the group text message, if anything happens, they share information. Like, we've had people whose parents have passed and things that have happened, but you always see that love and support from everybody. They're always looking out for one another.
That's awesome. I love it.
Yeah, I've got 2 questions. Two last questions for you, so we can start winding down. But one of them just popped in my mind is, after you've had someone that have graduated from the program, have you had any of those women, have you had any of them come back and be a coach or helped you to help others, to be like a mentor to somebody else in the program?
So the best example that I can give you of that, we had a woman that was in the program, and she has now came back and she is the driver. So she's now an employee and she drives them to all their appointments, and she really loves it. I mean, before, she was always kind of like a leader in the house. So we kind of saw those qualities, and she's made mention that she wants to grow and she wants to become possibly like the house facility manager, and then, keep going up and possibly open up her own sober living one day.
Oh, see, now that's good. That's good. And with the sober living home and everything else, what will be next for you? Is this kind of where you're going to focus on, is just your sober living home and the real estate? Is this where you see, or will there be more for you in the future?
So I kind of like, at this point, I'm 32. I'll be 33 coming up in May. And after this is open, I do want to like get more focused on like starting a family, because I'm just like, I want to have kids. And, as far as career, like, I feel like this has been like a big goal on my list. So once this is open and kind of running, I still have the real estate stuff going, but I do want to put an emphasis on, starting a family within like the next year or so, getting married and all of that stuff. So that will be my next move.
Yeah, I love it. I love it.
Yeah. So Chantelle, if you could share something with our viewers and our listeners, what would that be? Based off your experience on any of the areas that you do, what is there something that you would like to share?
Well, I think you've already touched on it a little bit today, but I definitely would say always put God first. I think in my life, especially if you have a lot of chaos or if things are really busy, like when I put God first and I really simplify things, that's when everything starts working out the way it's supposed to. When I'm in a worry and I pray and I read my word, I feel like that's when things start becoming clear and God just kind of lines things up that I don't even expect. When I was getting really busy, I was like, God, I don't have anything going on with real estate right now. I don't know what's going on. And then somebody would just call me out of nowhere and things would just start. And I'm like, it ain't have nothing to do with me. So I would say just continue to put God first. And what you said earlier about speaking things into existence, I don't listen to like rap music anymore. I literally get in my car and I listen to gospel music and my word. And I think the positive things that you hear, that you speak, that just becomes who you are. If you start saying, I am successful, I am healthy, if you start speaking these things, if you want to be a millionaire, I'm going to be a millionaire. Like, you start saying those things, I just believe that they start to come true.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much, Chantelle, for joining us today on the show. It has been exciting. You have really given us a lot of information. And please share your social media with us, so our viewers will know how we all can follow you. And if they know someone that needs to contact you regarding your Eastern Avenue Sober Living facilities, please share that with us at this time.
Okay, I will. Online, it's just straight Eastern Avenue soberliving.com. And then that's my father's, that I'm the community outreach director. And then mine is Winter Garden soberliving.com. So all of that information on how they can get registered, if people want to donate, if they want to be a board member, whatever the case may be, all that stuff can be found on both of those websites.
Right.
So thank you so much, Chantelle. And as we always end our forecast, as we always end our podcast, we always end it on a positive note, letting everyone know that please find yourself,
believe in yourself, and love yourself.
Thank you so much, Chantelle, for joining us. Thank you, viewers and our listeners, for today's show, and see you next time. Bye-bye.
Bye.